I want to thank you guys for showing up in the morning. I know there's a lot of activities going on today. There's hearings on the Hills, there's other events going on, and that we're competing for your time. And so I appreciate you guys deciding to join with us to partake in this important discussion we're going to have on bilateral relationships between the United States and Colombia. Please join us. Come in. And I just want to take a couple of minutes to give a brief background on this series before I introduce our panelists. I know that's who you're here to hear and not here to listen to me, despite any opinions to the contrary coming from myself. But NDN launched earlier this year a program that we call the Latin American Policy Initiative. We have with us also Maggie Barker, who I'd like to acknowledge. She's our Policy Director of the Globalization Initiative. Say hi, Maggie. The project that I'm working with is a collaboration with a lot of the work that Maggie has done prior to me joining NDN, and it's about discussing the future of a world in which we can no longer consider an isolationist movement for the United States, and we have to begin to look at ways that America can maintain its leadership position globally while acknowledging and improving relationships with different countries across this planet that we live on. My specific focus focuses on Latin America, and in the past, many organizations and many elected officials and governing bodies have looked at Latin America as a whole. And it is important to look at hemispheric relations and when we can partner with them. But it's also important to look at the individual relationships the United States has with individual countries. I'm sure it's become quite evident in the past few months that our relationship with Venezuela is dramatically different than our relationship with Colombia, which is still different than our relationship with Brazil and even our relationship with Mexico. And so to assume that our relationship with Latin America is a uniform policy would be a flawed way to look at how the United States should engage and deal with this issue. So we've launched on a monthly series to give an open forum and an opportunity for people to come listen to ambassadors, to members of Congress, to insiders and stakeholders about what are the issues that are actually impacting our bilateral relationships between the United States and each one of these individual countries. Today with us we have Nelson Cunningham, who's on the advisory board of NDN, as well as the Honorable Ambassador Carolina Barco, the ambassador to Colombia. And so we're very delighted to have them here with us to have this discussion. Just so that I can give you guys a format, the way we do this is that we will have the panelists speak, and at the end of both remarks, then we open it up for Q&A. And the one thing that I would like you guys to keep in mind is that today we are here to talk about the relationship between the United States and Colombia and not other countries. And we will get to those individual countries in the future, just as we have in the past with Mexico and Ecuador. So we are not here to talk about any individual relationships or issues that may arise between the United States and or Colombia with other countries, but we are here specifically to talk about Colombia and the U.S. So as you're asking your questions or as you're posing your frame of thought, to keep that relevant to the issue we're having here today. Also, as I mentioned, for those who just came in, if you could please put your phone on vibrate or on silent, I would appreciate that so that we don't interrupt the panelists. And then the last thing I would tell you is that on here we have a folder just on some of the work that NDN has done in the past on Latin America. And if there's any information that you guys would like to have on our future events, please feel free to let me know. If you'd like to have my card or get put on our mailing list, we have a lot of our staff around here that can help you. So having said that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to first of all load the presentation so that it's ready. And then I'm going to introduce So I'm going to leave this running so it's ready for the ambassador. But the first thing I'd like to do is I'd like to acknowledge and welcome Nelson Cunningham again, who's with McLarty & Associates and who's been involved with Latin American issues previously in the Clinton administration and just in his own capacity now in his industry, who has extensive knowledge on Colombia and Latin America, who's been a great asset to NDN to help us understand these issues affecting the United States and Latin America, and who's been a great resource for us to have. And so please welcome to the stage, to the podium, Nelson Cunningham.